This review has been made possible by Toyota of Naperville. As you know, Toyota has tons of brand new Toyotas available for purchase. But did you know that they also have a remarkable selection of used cars? Head on over to toyotaofnaperville.com and look through hundreds of used cars for sale right now.
Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2017 Mazda 6. Up front is a 2.5 liter inline 4 and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. If you'd like to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive where I'll be writing a complete article about the Mazda 6, as well as if you guys would like to see my videos early before they're made public here on YouTube, head on over to my Patreon, patreon.com/shooting_cars, where for only $2 a month you can see all my videos before they're made public. So let's get back to that 2.5 liter inline 4. Well, it's part of the Skyactiv family from Mazda, and this engine is used in a lot of their chassis. I reviewed a 2018 Mazda 3 with the same engine and a 2018 Mazda CX-5 with the same engine. I've never really had a complaint about this engine. It's a 2.5 liter. It makes a decent amount of torque. You know, it's nothing really to write home about, but it's definitely adequate, especially in the larger sedan like this. I was a little worried because, you know, this is heavier than the 3. Would it feel sluggish? Would it feel any worse? Do I wish it had a V6? And honestly, not really. You get pretty good fuel economy with the Skyactiv, and I'm not really missing the power all that much of a V6. Now, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic transmission with sport mode. Nothing too crazy here. The Mazda 3 that I drove also has a 6-speed automatic, and the CX-5 that I drove has a 6-speed automatic. And again, in both of those cars, no complaints, and that carries over here. I really don't have any complaints about the transmission. It does its job, and you can't be too mad at that. Now, last but not least about the Mazda 6 is that it is front-wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 major gauge pods, I guess. In the center is my speedometer. On the left is my tachometer, and on the right is a screen that I can actually change around, which I really like. So right now it's displaying my cruise control options because this does have radar cruise control. But if I hit info here, I could switch it to a compass, which actually shows the Mazda 6 and then a compass around the vehicle. Kind of neat there. Hit info again, I have my odometer, average MPG, temperature outside, miles till empty, all of that stuff, as well as an MPG gauge up at the top. Hit it again, and then you're at your odometer B, so your trip B, if you wanted to measure 2 different trips, that's where you would get that information. Then I have a screen telling me when my next service is, and then we're back to the cruise control screen. Now, I mentioned it has radar cruise control. If you'll notice, the front badge looks a little off. It doesn't look like a regular badge. That is where some of the radar sensors are for the radar cruise control. So the nice thing about radar cruise control is you can set a speed and the car will maintain that speed and lock on to the car in front of you. So say you set your speed to 70 miles an hour and the car in front of you is doing 65. Your car will do 65 and you'll keep up with that person and keep whatever following distance you want to keep. But the nice thing about that is that then you set a speed, let's again say you set it at 70, and that person, for whatever reason, they floor it, they get all the way up to 80. Your car is not going to chase them up to 80. It's only going to chase them up to 70, and then they're going to gain distance on you and you're no longer going to be locked onto them. That is really nice. That gives you no excuse to get a speeding ticket on the highway because you could just lock it at whatever speed you want and the car will never exceed that. I really like that feature, and that feature is honestly the best in construction. I went on a road trip with the CX-5 that I reviewed, and in construction the car slowed down. It'll even fully come to a stop just with the radar cruise control. So it's not full autonomy, but it is a lot better than just your stock cruise control that just asks you to set a speed and then no matter the circumstances it stays at that speed. But as I digress about the cruise control, up on top of the gauges you do get a heads-up display. This is one of my least favorite features of the newer Mazdas. Although the brand new 2019 Mazda 3 actually fixed this, I think it looks cheap. I think it looks kind of like a Happy Meal toy. I remember when I was a kid, when the Men in Black movie came out, they had this little flip-up watch that was a watch but also a computer. I think Burger King had it or something, and I remember playing with that as a kid. It looks almost identical to that and it works almost identical to that, so it feels a little bit cheap, but the rest of the interior does not feel cheap, so let's get on to that. On the steering wheel I have my buttons for the audio on the left, as well as info. It's going to change that right gauge pod like I was talking about earlier, and then on the right you have your cruise control options. So this is where you set your following distance for the adaptive radar cruise control. And then you also have on off for the cruise. I do have paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, which is a nice feature for people who do like that. Put it over into sport mode, you can plus minus, or you can just plus minus at any time. Like we're coming around a corner here, I'll just bump it down into 2, get a little bit more acceleration out of it. And to turn that off, just move the shifter to sport and drive and back again. To the left, I have a couple buttons. Traction control off, lane keep assist off, and tire pressure set. So traction control off, very basic there. Lane keep assist, the car will warn you if you go over the yellow lines. Say you're really tired, you start drifting, graze over the yellow line, the car will warn you and kind of set you back straight in the lane. If you do a hard right turn on the highway, the car will not adapt for that and stop that from happening, but it is a nice feature that it warns you, but you can turn that off if you don't like that. Then you have tire pressure set. So if you ever get a flat tire or change your tires or something's low, you do have to manually reset the sensors. So if you do get a flat, you get a new tire, it might still beep at you. Just reset that. If you reset it and then it still says you have a low tire, then something's really up. On the far left, I do have my window switches, which one touch down, one touch back up for all 4 windows. Super nice feature there. Then we get into the infotainment system. So up top, we do have the start stop button and then the infotainment. I am not a fan of the infotainment from Mazda. Now, newer Mazdas, I believe actually 2017 and up, you're eligible to get Apple CarPlay or Android Auto installed for about $500 from the dealer, which is a hefty price, but honestly, I think it would be worth it. The navigation is bad. I hate the navigation. It's equivalent to your friend who printed out MapQuest directions, giving you those directions from the back seat. That's about the level of information that you get. Right now, it's saying I'm in the middle of nowhere, even though I'm not in the middle of nowhere. It's not a great navigation, and the audio, it takes a little bit of getting used to. It's a little glitchy, it's a little slow. When you first start your car, like a cold start of the car, I don't know what it is. I don't know if like the CPU of the computer or something is cold, but it takes almost a full minute before you can start changing your music and stuff after the car's first started up. That's pretty annoying to me. So while the infotainment isn't great, Apple CarPlay will solve all of this. So if you do buy a 2017 Mazda 6 or up, you can get Apple CarPlay and that'll solve all of your issues. Last thing about the screen is that it is touchscreen when the car is not moving, but when the car is in motion, you use the joysticks down here, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So down below the infotainment system, you have 2 vents. You have your climate control option, which this car does have heated seats and a heated steering wheel, which I'll be turning on right now because it's a little breezier than I thought it was. Then a CD player, a 12-volt outlet, and then we come down to the shifter. No complaints about the shifter. I like the shifter. I think it's set up well. I like that they haven't switched to like the rotary dial or BMW's weird joystick shifter. I like that it's just a normal shifter. That's it. I love it. Next to the shifter is the sport button. Hit that, and really all it's going to do is it's going to hold on to gears longer. It's going to shift quicker. It's really just a transmission aid. It's not going to give you better throttle response or, unlock any secret turbos or anything. It's really just a transmission setting. Then down below the shifter, we have the joystick. Now, this is how you control the center screen while you're driving. I like this joystick a lot. I think it's a lot better than Lexus's joystick. In terms of all the cars that I've driven, I do prefer this. It has a really good tactile response, which is something that I like while driving. I like being able to feel what I'm doing as opposed to a very numb joystick. Then to the right of that, you have the volume knob. Now, at first, I really didn't like it, but the more and more Mazdas that I've driven, more and more modern Mazdas that have the volume knob down below, I actually really like it because I just naturally rest my hand on the armrest and I can move it up and down. I'll keep it muted so I don't get copyright strikes, but move it up and down. You don't have to fumble around on the dash. It honestly sounds really stupid, but you don't have to pick up your arm to change the volume, which it's so simple, but you literally just, it's really easy to press. And I really like that. I really like the positioning of it. Then to finish out the center console, you have the electric parking brake on the left. and then 2 cup holders that you can hide away. Now it is a 4-door, 4-seater, so we will do a back seat review. The luxuriousness really does carry on back here. Again, this isn't going to be a Bentley. I don't have a champagne cooler in between the seats, but what I do have in between the seats is heated seats with 3 different settings. That is super nice. I'm going to turn that on. I have 2 little vents. I have sort of pockets, cubbies. I guess they could maybe hold a water bottle in the doors, but other than that, really luxurious experience back here. Ooh, LEDs, nice. Nice experience. This is my driving position, and I can move my knees fully without hitting the front seat. Definitely Mazda has seriously stepped up their game, and it's really evident back here in the rear seats. Full pass for the rear seats. Overall, I'm really impressed by the Mazda 6's interior. After 2015, Mazda really stepped up their game, and the reason for that is that actually Mazda used to be essentially owned by Ford. They had the controlling share of Mazda, so a lot of Mazdas were rebadged Fords. A lot of the Mazda 3s from the early 2000s, the Mazda B series pickup truck of the 90s, the list goes on and on and on. But ever since they broke away, I think Mazda's really been going in a lot better of a direction. All the materials in here are really, really nice. There's stitching on the dashboard. I have this nice metal looking bar that kind of splits the interior. And no, it's not a Rolls Royce by any means, but what it is it's a comfortable and nice driving experience. And when you get into it, you don't feel like you're in a rental car. You don't feel like you scraped the bottom of the bucket to buy this thing off Craigslist. This thing, it feels nice. And I think one of the reasons for that is the use of multi-materials. I think if you want to make a car feel more luxurious, use different materials because it just makes the car feel so much better. The seats are leather, they're comfortable, they're heated, and overall, the Mazda 6 of 2017 is miles ahead of the Mazda 6 of, let's say, 2007. Just in terms of comfort, styling, and just all around, I feel better about it. Now, like I mentioned, styling, I think this car looks great. I love the black. I love the gray wheels. The gray wheels kind of remind me of the 2012 Mazda Speed 3 wheels a little bit. I see a little bit of a family trait there. But overall, I think it's a great looking car. I think it's classy, and I would definitely be proud of getting out of this car. You know, I always talk about it. I daily drive a Pontiac G6 because it's cheap and all I need to go is to school or to work like this. So I don't really need anything crazy. But sometimes I'm walking out to my G6 and I'm just like, I'm not the most proud getting into it. No one has ever said, wow, that's a nice G6. But people will say that about the Mazda 6. They'll be like, that's a Mazda? That's nice. And that's something to take home. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Now, I do have to give an extra huge shout out to Toyota of Naperville. This is actually my second time filming this review. I filmed this review a week ago, and for whatever reason, my SD card stopped wanting to be an SD card and corrupted the files, and I lost 2 whole reviews. So the next week, I call up Toyota and say, hey, I explain my whole situation, and they say, no problem, come back in as soon as you can. Let's get you back into that car, and let's finish that video. So huge thank you to Toyota for being super flexible. But also, I do want to give Toyota a shout out. April is Autism Awareness Month, and right now, if you go to Toyota of Naperville or Lexus of Naperville and you test drive any car, they will give $20 to Turning Point, which is a school for the autistic. So if a family can't afford help, or if a child isn't getting the proper care and attention they need in public schools for their autism, they go to Turning Point and they get the proper education and help that they need. It's an absolutely awesome foundation, and all you guys have to do is go out and test drive a car. That's it. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to put any money down. Just go test drive a car, and they donate $20 to the Autism Foundation at Turning Point, which is absolutely awesome. If you guys do go, I'd highly recommend test driving the Toyota RAV4, the brand new one. Definitely give that a look. I really like that a lot. So huge thank you to Toyota Naperville. Their information is up on the screen. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the 2017 Mazda 6. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys. There goes a sight from my soul.